Meeting a great person is a blessing, and getting introduced to them is more than that. I would like to introduce the first keynote speaker of the session, Dr. Shanmuga Priya. She's a faculty of Shinas College of Technology, Ministry of Manpower, Sultanate of Oman. And her field of interest and area of expertise are international finance, portfolio management, and security analysis. She had done her degrees in India, like Madurai Kamarajar University and Bharatiyar University, and she has more than 17 years of teaching experience, and out of which 10 years are in international Omani students. She is a recipient of many research grants by the prestigious institution TRC, the Research Council of Oman. She has published articles in many national and international journals, and also she has organized and coordinated many seminars, workshops, and she is also actively take part in development and contemporary issues, etc. She is a recipient of university top rank and best outstanding student awards. She has presented papers in many international and national conferences, and as I told you, her area of interest and field of expertise are like international finance, portfolio management, and security analysis. We are proud and happy to have you amidst us, ma'am. We are ready with open ears and open heart and open mind to listen to your speech. Ma'am, the stage is yours, please.
Thank you, Dr. Ganapati, for that good introduction, and thank you, Dr. L. Vijay, for inviting me for this program. Well, I hope I'm audible and my video is there for you all.
You're
Am
audible,
I?
ma'am, of course, but your
Yeah.
video is not.
Okay, so let me just try to put on my video.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes,
Am
yes,
I visible? Yep.
yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you once again. It's a great job being done by SV College of Arts and Science, the Grasp and Grow. And well, a very good afternoon in India. Yeah, it's still good morning here. And a very good afternoon to all the participants to this program. First and foremost, I would like to congratulate you all for being a very brave students at this point of time. Definitely, I would say you are the most bravest of all because we have at your ages never faced such a great pandemic where the whole world is really, stopped and paused and nobody knows what is there ahead. And you are the generation who's seeing this pandemic at this age, and I'm sure you are bound to grow more stronger and be more successful in your career. And today I would like to address this session not just as an academician who has had so much of experience into teaching, but as a parent who's also having a daughter who's exactly of your age, waiting anxiously on what is going to happen next. Yes, she is also 12th passed, or rather 12th completed. Still, the results are not out. 12th and anxiously waiting for the next course of action in her life and career. With this, I really want to start with a very positive note being as an inaugural session. So I would like to say that there is pandemic, there is panic everywhere in the air, but please do not be carried away by the negativity. Think of all the positives that you are having. Now, in the same time when we never had the time to think. We never had the choices to make. We never had the people to reach out for. We never had the information that we really need to have to make a career choice. So blessed are you, in fact, that you are having the time to make a perfect choice. You are not in a rush to take a decision. Now, this is a time to relax, think, and reflect on your strengths and weaknesses. So I really truly believe that you are the privileged people who have a good parents who are there supportive for you, and you are the privileged generation who have access to well informed friends and relatives who can really take you in the right path. And please do not have an anxious mind. Do not worry about anything. And I would again like to congratulate you for attending this webinar series by the prestigious institution, SV College of Arts and Science. Now let me come to the main thrust of this program, which is the career goals or the career options that you as students would have if you would choose uh, a course in accounting, in finance, in business, in management in particular. So in BCom or the BBA or the BBM, there are different versions which is being offered now. And SV College of Arts and Science is also offering such courses, which is really the need of the hour. The courses that you would be studying are, as you can see in my slide, accounting, cost accounting, accountancy, economics, finance, information science, international business, management, human resource, law, marketing management, tourism, logistics, and supply chain management. So these are the list of courses that I have just put in a nutshell, the major ones, which you will be touching upon when you will be studying your BCom degree. Now, provided you put in all your efforts and you come out with flying colors in your BCom degree, you can have a wide array of careers in business studies. So going to the next slide, which is going to talk about careers in business studies, you have the option to become an accountant, of course, an auditor, which is a higher level than an accountant with experience. You can get into auditing jobs. You can also become a consultant in many leading corporates across India and global. You have the option to become a company secretary, although you need to do a separate course on it, which is called as corporate secretaryship or company secretaryship, as they call it now. But still, you can continue your higher studies on it. You could also become a business analyst, where you're going to do a lot of analysis for companies in trying to find out most profitable ventures that they can venture into. You can also become a finance officer if you are really interested in the financial management subject of your BCom. There are still many other careers. If you go to the next slide, you can see if you're a person who likes to talk, who likes to interact with people, who is more of a friendly nature, you can go for specializing yourself into marketing and become a sales analyst. If you're good at numbers, trying to look at figures, you can always be a tax accountant or a stockbroker, where you now might have seen a lot of hue and cue crying going on in the stock markets, where it's a high pressure job with everyday stock prices being very volatile, moving up and down. You can always venture into becoming a stockbroker. You can also become an economist who would like to know the economic conditions, the economic trends happening around, and a business development training. Of course, if you have your own businesses, you can join as a trainee initially. Of course, you can be an owner if you have your own business, but still, a BCom degree helps you to hone your skills to run your own business. Now, I would like to be more specific about careers in accounting, because you're going to be specialized in accounting. So after BCom, or parallelly, you can also get into careers as a chartered accountant, cost and works accountant. Now, where do you find jobs when you become a cost accountant, a cost and works accountant and a chartered accountant? Is you can always find a host of jobs in banks, auditing firms, finance companies, mutual funds, portfolio management companies. Not still there are some more too. You can also find jobs in stockbroking firms, legal houses, patent firms, attorneys, trademark companies, and copyright registers. As I mentioned to you a while ago, there is a separate degree on company secretaryship, which you could do parallelly when you're doing your BCom. Or in fact, it becomes a starting point to take up a job as a company secretary and still pursue your course in company secretaryship. Now, where do you find a career as company secretary? Again, in banking law and practice, capital, commodity and money market, insurance law and practice, intellectual property rights law and practice, international business law and practice. I would like to introduce you to the next career, which is called as a Chartered Financial Planner, in short, CFP. Now, this has become the most hot cake in the job market, which is going to be a separate degree in addition to your BCom. Of course, you need to bear in mind that these are all a supplementary degree, which is going to take you to a high professional career, and it's up to you to make a choice. Yeah. So career as a chartered financial planner, where you can take up your career pathway as a personal financial planner. You can also become a client services advisor, a wealth management advisor, or an associate advisor. Next, moving on to the next most prospective career is your actuarial science. This has a link to the insurance, where you can work with health insurers, life, property and casualty, investment strategy, pension and retirement benefits, and enterprise risk. And the final one I would always advise you to be into is, of course, the academic opportunities. Yeah, so academic opportunities are a host of opportunities with virtual online platforms being into teaching, that you can always take up academic opportunities. I wouldn't like to list down, because any academic opportunity starts with you as a lecturer. Yeah, so as you advance in your career, you can reach up to professor level, provided you have a degree in PhD. Yeah, you are interested to do a master's as well as a doctoral degree in the area of your specialization. It could be marketing, HR, finance, operations, logistics, and whatsoever. And this host of opportunities, in general, I would like to put it in a nutshell that the job areas that you can find jobs are business consultancies, educational institutions, industrial houses, public accounting firms, policy planning, foreign trade, banks, and budget planning. So with that note, I would I would also like to show you that there is also opportunities available as in areas like inventory control, merchant banking, marketing, working capital management, treasury and forex department, investment banking, insurance, and actuarial sciences. You will all be surprised to know that the big recruiters of BCom graduates are in India, and such big recruiters are PricewaterhouseCoopers. They are basically analysts who do rating for various companies in India. KPMG India, Ernst & Young, Deloitte, Grant Thornton, SS Kotari Mehta and Company, Lodha and Company. And you can also always look for entry-level accounts jobs in top Indian companies like the Reliance Group, Tata Group, ICICI Bank, HDFC, etc. So with that note, I would like to conclude that you need not worry about your career. I know that the current pandemic condition is putting you all in a lot of stress. You are in a blink of doubt on how your future is going to be. But believe me, you all have a very prospective future ahead. Now, don't you have this confidence now that how many recruiters are there, how many job opportunities are available? All that it needs for you is to be having the right patience, perseverance, and your goal to pursue your dream. And with that, I would like to thank the opportunity provided to me. And I would like to open the platform for any questions that you have about the job opportunities or in general about the courses that you would like to pursue. Or as I told you, I began with saying that I am a parent of a student who is of the same condition as you. So if you would like to have any doubts cleared, please, the platform is open for you.
Participants, I think you can raise your hand if you have a doubt. The speaker, the guest madam, is ready to answer your questions and doubts. So if you have a doubt, you can raise your hand. There is an option in Zoom app to raise your hand. You feel free to ask your doubts. Yes.
This is Dr. Vijay. Thank you for your very wonderful presentation. I don't know how much is my voice still audible because of the network issue in my place now. Very wonderful presentation, ma'am. Very useful in a very lecture. You have given the insight how the students can take up their career choice. A very short talk, and you have explained them what the life prospect they can. Let me have a very general question on behalf of the participants. Since even the SA College of Arts and Science is having 5 different BCom courses, most of the people whom I talk ask this question: which BCom I should choose, or why such a specialization of BCom is offered by the university? How you will tell them to choose the particular BCom course if they are interested. Apart from their general, there is choices like accounting finance, BCom in accounting finance, BCom in bank management. How about a student can choose a particular BCom with the specialization of choice?
Yeah.
Ma'am,
Thank you, Dr. Vijay. So I think we are speaking our minds out when we were there to choose our specialization. We just chose it because it was, everybody were choosing accounting. So we also went for choosing accounting or finance, or everybody is choosing marketing. We also went for choosing marketing or HR for that matter. But with the experience, I feel that one should look into their skills and capabilities that they have. If you are if as a student is having the skill to really look for the details, and they feel that their +2 up to their grade 12 they were good in numbers, and maths is never a haunting story for them, then I would advise them to take up finance, taxation, and portfolio management or stockbroking. But if they feel that numbers are not their piece of cake, then it's always better they would either go for marketing or HR. So traditionally, these were the major 3 specializations, but now we have so many micro specializations which the students have choice to make. So in that, one of the most specialized one would be the logistics and supply chain management, which is going to be involving a lot of people management, a lot of materials management, a lot of things which is going to be involving numbers, materials. As we commonly speak in business language, that there are 5 M's: men, material, mission, money, and management. So if you're a person who feels that you can manage all these 5 things, then um, you could go for an operations management or a production management, where you would be put into a major role which would control the organization from a holistic point of view. The other major upcoming area is the big data or the data analytics, which is an integration of the artificial intelligence in business decision making. So again, if a student feels that he or she has a skill to make good choices, good decisions, and they are more independent in their thinking, who don't depend on others to make a decision. If you're a student of that nature, you can always go for a big data or a systems. I think SVA at College of Arts and Science is also offering computer applications and computer science. I think you can always enter into that field. Also, the visual communication is really a hot cake now, which is an integration of the media, IT skills. And so the bottom line is there is not a key skill which is needed in a student now. They need to equip themselves with many skills. Although you will basically have a skill which is inherent in you, but the philosophy of business studies is you can always acquire the skill in the next 3 to 5 years of your study period. So you will not be the same person as you are today by the end of the by the end of your study period. You will be exploring more about yourself, and then you will come to know that this particular line suits you. That is the best way or an easy way to really achieve higher success in your career. Where we, as I told you, that we didn't have an orientation of such a kind, and we just picked up a specialization which was in demand by everybody. And later we developed our skills for the specialization. But now the time has come where you know your skill and then pick up your specialization, and you cannot just stop with that. You have to continue to hone your skills in all the other areas also. So you really have to be a multidisciplinary, multi-skilled person to thrive in this competitive world. So I wouldn't discourage you by saying that you have to be a multi-skilled, you have to develop it, but it would obviously come to you. I think a college of like SV college, which is having a good academic fraternity, will really hone your skills and lead you to such a path. And this is what I would like to answer you, Dr. Vijay.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for
Thank
the
you.
clear-cut explanation. Ma'am, there is a question which we received offline. That is,
Okay.
what course? I mean, what are the course to be chosen to become an entrepreneur?
Okay.
So, what type of course is related, closely related to become an entrepreneur?
All right. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you for that question. It's a very interesting question.
Yes.
Although I just touched upon business trainee, which I didn't speak much about self business groups. Yeah, this is a very interesting question, because I would like to congratulate the person who has given such a question. Probably they are the first generation entrepreneurs, or they are an entrepreneur, a second generation entrepreneur, by which I mean you may already have a business, or you are planning to have your own business. So there are centers of entrepreneurship education cells, which is operated by many universities, entrepreneurship cells, and many distance education programs, full-time programs are also offered by many universities, which is offering small scale industries, educational program, entrepreneurship development programs. Although it doesn't have a separate degree like what is being offered like BCom, it becomes like a specialization also. You can also take it up, where you can always specialize in small and medium enterprises development, small scale industries development, entrepreneurship development. It becomes like it becomes kind of an hands-on experience for you, where they are going to tell you on idea generation. They're going to tell you about how to do the marketing, the technical, the financial planning for your business. They're also going to give you information about all that financial institutions look for when you apply for a loan to start your own small scale unit or a business unit. And they will also be providing you with there is something called as incubator cells or incubator units, which is operating in many colleges within their campuses and off campuses, that is going to provide you with a continuous support and monitoring of your business initially. So up from the starting from the pilot test study up to the actual project embargo or the project being taking off, you will have a continuous support from such entrepreneurship units and cells. So later, end of this session, I can share with you some of the links of such entrepreneurship units operating in India. Yeah, this is in India. There are quite a lot of units which is providing you with such support. As a degree, it really doesn't make a big difference whether you have a degree in entrepreneurship or not. It is basically your skills which is needed to operate a business. So any business degree is going to help you in that, right from starting of procuring the material to managing with your HR, to managing with your finances, to media and marketing, and to reaching out to the customers, managing your supply chain, logistics. Yeah, a business degree does help you with entrepreneurship, but I wouldn't advise you to spend your time on an entrepreneurship degree as such, because it's not going to fetch you any special advantage at the later stage of your career. But instead, if you can go for a BCom degree and then simultaneously do an part-time course on through entrepreneurship units and hone your skills, I think that would be a better choice. Yeah, that's my answer to the question. I hope
So,
I
thank you for the clear
answered.
answer, ma'am. Actually, when you spoke, spoke about the incubation center, which is
Yep.
offered in several engineering colleges. But
Yeah.
as an attempt or as a try, SA College of Arts and Science is also organizing an incubation, offering an incubation center, and we
Wow.
are we are always in the right track also.
Wow.
So we are.
Brilliant, Doctor. Brilliant.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so
That's
much, ma'am.
really
And
great.
we
That's
have
really
some
great.
two more questions in offline. And
Yeah.
one question from Mr. Saravanan, he has asked whether PG has to be done after BCom degree or a BBA degree. And there is another person who has asked a question. Her
Mhm.
name is Jennifer. She said that whether BCom alone is not enough. So
Okay.
both are, I think, the
So I
same.
think I can link both the questions.
Yes, and
First,
there is also another
whether
question from another side, and what is that? What are all the add-on courses to be done along with a BCom or a BBA course to
yeah,
excel in future? So I
yeah,
think all the three questions are interlinked.
yeah, are interlinked.
Yeah.
So first question, I will order it this way: whether a BCom degree is enough or not. Yeah, at the current point of time, it is enough. If you're going to do the BCom degree in a good institute, which is offering you with all the specializations, as just like Dr. Vijay said about even an incubation center when they can operate, and then you can go for such an institute. I think a BCom degree is more than enough at this point of time, considering the current pandemic conditions, considering the current economic conditions. Yeah, you have to really excel in your BCom degree and try to get an entry position in the big recruiters that I just now presented, and your career is set. Okay, the second, do you have to do a master's degree from your after your graduation? Not a must. And whether any add-ons is needed? Yeah, an add-ons is needed, but again, join with a big recruiter, or even as a startup, you can start as a trainee and you can pursue your master's or any add-on courses along with your BCom degree. This would be my advice at this point of time. The twin advantage of doing this is, one, you start earning once you finish your BCom, and then you can fund your add-on studies with your money itself. You are not going to put pressure on your parents. I really want to have a big concern over the parents at this point of time. Yeah. So, and of course, I'm not stopping your educational interest, but what is most suitable at this point of time? If you're still interested in pursuing your master's degree, you can always do it, but not without a job. Unless otherwise, you would like to go for an academic career. Yeah, if you want to take up a teaching profession or an academic discipline, yeah, you need to go for a master's degree, or even you need to go for your your doctoral degree if needed. Maybe by the time you people graduate and come in another 5 to 10 years, you even need to do a postdoctoral study if you're planning for a post-graduation for an academic line. But if you're not planning for an academic line and you would like to be into corporates, a BCom is enough. But to go up to a higher level in your career, to achieve a higher position in your career, of course, you will need to do some add-ons. But I would advise you to take up a career after you finish your BCom and start your add-ons. And if you would like to know what are the add-ons, just as I told you, it depends on the field that you're entering into after you choose your specialization. So once you choose your specialization and you graduate, you have a host of other add-ons that you can always do. While you're doing your BCom, if you would ask me whether I should do for any other add-ons, yes, of course, you can still do it. You can always specialize. You can always take up an internship with an auditor. If you would like to have some taxation exposure, you can always be a part of a broking firm like national stock exchanges or any regional stock exchanges and have an exposure on it. And if I can throw some light on stock broking, because that's my specialization, there are a lot of courses offered by National Stock Exchange of India, which as students you can always certify yourself. So you become certified brokers, certified stock broking agents by the time you finish your BCom. So you can just visit NSE websites, National Stock Exchange websites, and you can look for the courses or certifications there. From day one, you can start to prepare for it. And I would say that this generation for you, more than we as professors, you always have the internet in support of you, which is going to provide you. There are a lot of free programs like Coursera. I will share the websites with you soon. Coursera.org, which is giving you a lot of basic foundation courses in accounting. So you people are right now anxiously waiting. So instead of having this anxiousness, you can start preparing yourself with some basic courses, especially you might be from commerce background. So it's always easy for you to have the basic knowledge. Yeah. So you can go to Coursera.org, and there are many basic foundation courses, free courses, which you can always do it, and it will add value to your resume by the time you finish your BCom. Yeah, so it's a basic foundation courses. It might help you once you join, once things settle down and you're back to your colleges. It can always help you with the basic, it can make your fundamentals very strong. Yeah, so yeah, that's it. I hope I have answered all the three questions.
Thank you, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. It was a collective answer. I think one person has raised her hand. I think Ms. Jayashree, you can ask
Yes,
the
sir.
question. Yes, ma'am. You can ask the
Actually,
question.
ma'am, what are the add-ons available for a BCom corporate secretaryship degree?
For a corporate secretaryship add-ons that you want to know,
Yes.
yeah, you can go for, I would say like computer applications, Excel, because as a company secretaryship, you need to really know Microsoft Office to a larger extent. Yeah, so you can look for Excel programs and data analytics, data analysis, Excel data visualization, because as a secretary, you need to manage huge amount of data. Yeah, and yeah, dear, I will look out for some more information, and I will pass it on to Mr. Vijay. Yeah, more specific.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thank you, Jayashree. Anybody else with a question? You can raise your hand and ask a question. And ma'am, again, there is an offline question. That
Yep.
is, we know that communication skill is important for all. And
Yep.
at the same time, computing skill is also important for all. There are
Yep.
students from India who are very strong in their commerce and management and accounting subject, but
Yeah.
the problem is with the communication and computing skills. So can you
Yeah.
please highlight the importance of these two in your field, particularly in accounting and management field?
Yeah. Yeah, I do agree that communication skill is important, but the fact is you can all be happy that if you have good communication skills, it's an add-on. If you do not have a very good communication skill, so what I mean by a very good communication skills is a business language excellency. It doesn't matter much. Once you are in your accounting profession, if you can speak the accounting language, that's more than enough. If you're very comfortable with the accounting language, with the business language, jargons used in business, that's more than enough. We are not in a profession where we are going to be writing poems and essays and articles for newspapers. So this is going to be a field which is going to be talking about numbers. If you are into accounting profession, it is going to be talking about business deals if you are into marketing, or it's going to be interacting with people if you are into HR. So by the time you complete your BCom degree, you will be learning the business language or the accounting language or the accounting jargons, which you need to have as a minimum base to communicate with your clients, with your boss, with your team members. So you don't have to have an apprehension that communication skills are going to be the basics. No, those will be the essentials, which you will get it once you are sincerely into doing your program. So you don't have to be anxious about it. And communication skills doesn't really matter much when you, as compared to the analytical skills, as compared to your decision making skills, or as compared to your presentation skills. So when you are into your program next 3 to 5 years, you will be doing a lot of presentations, you'll be doing a lot of seminars, during which you can hone your business presentation skills, and not just the general English language skills, which is not really needed. So I don't think you will need it unless you are going to choose an academic profession. Of course, you need to have a language skill. And again, that would be a teaching skill. It really doesn't have to be a proficient English language teacher. We are not going to be English language teachers. So even if you want to be into academics, you just need to know the concepts, the theories, and you need to have a passion for teaching. And for that matter, for any job, you need to have a passion to do the job. And as a matter of skills, it will come to you automatically once you start having a passion for the job. And this is what I have seen among my friends, because I have my friends who have studied with me with coming from a very rural background, and I have seen them becoming very good professionals in their career. So I think that answers the question.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Thank you. And there is another question from Mr. Sheikh. That is, what are all the job opportunities for BCom students abroad, and at the same time, how to prepare for the overseas job opportunity? So these two.
Yeah. I think now there is a kind of a myopic condition. I think I want to clear it out that now it makes no sense in talking about a job in India or a job in abroad. Now we are all talking about global jobs. So if you have a career, if you have a degree, professional degree in accounting, then you can look out for the same kind of jobs that I have presented in abroad countries. So it doesn't really make I wouldn't say that there are less job opportunities in India and more job opportunities in abroad, or the pay scales make a big difference. No. In fact, I know my own colleagues who are into profession of accounting and earning much more than what a person abroad is earning. And still, if you're interested to be abroad, maybe for your lifestyle or for your dream job, yeah, you can land. As I told you, PricewaterhouseCoopers has branches or have their concerns all over the world. KPMG has all over the world. Ernst & Young, Deloitte, all of them have. So once you make an entry point in India, you can land up abroad very easily, provided they have their offshore projects and they are going to depute you for such opportunities. If you want to exclusively look out for opportunities, you need to have a minimum of 5 years of experience in India, after which I think you can just go for any job portals and start looking out for jobs, and you will land in a good job abroad. I think now things are much easier than to find a job abroad than things were earlier, because it's global job market now. So I think you can think about it once they can think about it once they complete their degree. I think it's too early for them to think about a job abroad. As a fresher, it's really difficult to find going through the proper recruitment channel. I would advise you to really pick up a job in India, as I have told you, from the big recruiters, or even as an entry-level person, and then grow your career into it slowly and steadily, successfully. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you so much. And there is again another question from Mr. Kumaran. That is there any journals or like magazines which is related to this field exclusively for commerce and management, so that they can?
Yeah.
Yes. Can you please suggest one or two so that?
Yeah, the best ones in India will be the All India Management Sciences, New Delhi, AIMS. New Delhi has journal which publishes, I think it's biannual, it's quarterly journals, AIMS. IMA, All India Management Association, New Delhi, AIMA, AIMA. Globally, yeah, it's Harvard Business School magazines, which are the best that you can always go for some breakthrough studies, breakthrough trends, which is being published. Harvard Business Review, HBR. These are the two prominent ones that you can always look out for. And apart from that, when it is coming to journals, yeah, there are quite a lot of ones like Business Outlook, yeah, business magazines. I think quite a lot of them in India. Yeah, you can, and as it's not just specific to look out only for business related magazines. You can even go for very general ones like India Today, Outlook India, which is going to be uh, providing you with information about a host of business opportunities interlinked with the economic conditions. Yeah, that's
Okay, ma'am. Okay, ma'am. And one more, the last question, another
it. Yeah.
question from offline.
Yeah.
You said that, you spoke about the overseas job opportunities. Is there anything regarding overseas education, like higher education, regarding to this field, like after BCom, any higher
Yeah.
education we can reach overseas or abroad and then specialize ourselves?
I think moving out abroad with the current conditions, I think there is
Maybe
not much welcoming here.
maybe after 3 years, ma'am. Maybe after.
After 3 years, yeah, once they will graduate, they can always go for their master's degree abroad, especially in UK, where they have opened up student visa along with their part-time job visa. So a simple route to enter into a foreign degree is through CPA, Chartered Professional Accountant, or ACCA, which is nothing but the same as your Chartered Accountant, but being provided by UK. So it's an accounting degree which is provided by UK, called as ACCA, Associate Chartered Companies Association. I'm not really recalling the exact full form, but it's called an ACCA, which is going to offer a degree in accounting from UK, and completing which you can always take up a job also abroad. Yeah, there is an advantage in doing a master's in foreign countries of late, or picking up as a trend these days, because many countries are opening up their visas, student visas, which is also giving them an opportunity to take up part-time jobs and then later convert it as work visas. And an abroad exposure is always an advantage when you come back to India. Again, with the same global recruiters like big firms. So they would always take it as an advantage. And yeah, though for the question, the one previously asked, whether job opportunities are how to land in a job abroad, an abroad degree gives a more easy entry. It adds value to the CV, of course. So there is no stoppage to study. So just doing a BCom and then later on pursuing a degree abroad does add value if it really interests you, and you really want to be outside India making big money. And yeah, you can get a good professional degree from abroad. And there are many institutions which are offering such degrees. You can always go for online programs also, although you have to check out the country. There are some countries which are putting a lot of restrictions on online degrees, especially Middle East, who are not really accepting even from deemed universities. Degrees from deemed universities are not being accepted. So please check out the university before you apply for any foreign degree, whether they are in the list of accredited universities globally. And I'm sure SV College is going to support you all with such good information later on. So you can always count on them. Yeah, thank you.
So, thank you very much, ma'am. So, thank you for your patience in answering all the questions meticulously. And we have seen all your speech. It has given it has projected the overseas experience and all the vast 17 years of experience. So thank you so much, ma'am. So
You're
regarding
welcome,
a
sir.
formal vote of thanks,
Sir,
yeah,
sorry to interrupt. Before we wind up the session,
yes, sir.
uh, when ma'am she's sharing the stock exchange, right? The NSC courses, the students can take the courses on the basic knowledge on NSC. And our college, our SA College of Arts and Science, we have a tie-up with Equisys. It is a stock exchange where it predicts the market. Where we have a tie-up with organization where they are going to teach the students on the basics of stock exchange and how to
Wow.
predict the stock exchange analysis part. So this is which shoots for all commerce graduates.
Wow. That's really
So,
great, sir. Brilliant. Brilliant.
thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. One final question which I have to, this is not from the student, this is from my end. I'm asking,
Yeah.
what kind of a difference that you can identify the education sector in India? Sorry, ma'am.
Come again, sir?
The education sector in India
Yeah.
and the education sector in other globalized universities. You know, like in top 100 or even in 200, our Indian universities are not, ranked. I just want to know how we can, because we are also striving our best to do to compete with the global standards. So, I'd
Yeah.
like to know.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes, sir. It's a very concerning question, which I need to answer, not for the student fraternity, maybe for the parents who are watching this, to plan their future of their children, because the education sector is dramatically going to change, or it is in the process of change, I would say. Where our Indian educational system is based on our Macaulay's educational system, where we have just to memorize it and reproduce whatever we have learned. But this generation of children are more creative, are more ready to explore many new things, to learn new things, and to put forward their thoughts in a better imaginative way. And they know much more than what we are going to teach them. Considering such a change in the mindset of people and or in their the general outlook of people, I think the countries abroad are not just focusing on giving a course to them just to read and write and put their exams and pass it out, but it is more of the application part. When we see the curriculum abroad, we don't find we don't go for just one type of assessment. We go for a different type of assessments for the students, where they can exhibit their prowess, not just in writing and giving their answers, but in many other ways. It could be in the form of teamwork. It could be in the form of a presentation. It could be in the form of a creative writing. It could be in the form of a project, a creative analytical project that they do. So education sector, yeah. And we as academicians, as you know, that we are also gearing up for such changes to provide them with more kind of a blended learning. It is not just a teaching. We are now calling an academic profession as a blended learning experience, where it's a blending of learning for both the academician as well as the students. So it's a two-way process. And I think now we are also, the education in India is also more moving towards credit-based choice of choosing the courses, grade point averages, where the students can choose a course. They can decide whether they want to complete a course in 3 years, in 4 years, or 2 years, or even some of the brilliant students can complete a degree even within 2.5 years. A 5-year program is completed in 3 years. So such integrated programs, choice-based credit systems where they can choose courses based on credit points. So such changes are happening, and we know this generation knows much more than what we used to, because thanks to the Google Googling. And I think as the final note to all the students will be, do not depend on just your parents or your teachers or any kind of support. You have to learn yourself. And this is how the world is going to be now, that you have to be independent in your thinking. They have to be independent in their decision making, and independent, be self-reliant on themselves. So our education system is also must be gearing up towards creating such output to the industry or to the country. This is my personal uh, thinking.
Thank you, ma'am. Thanks for your opinion.
Yeah.
So,
Welcome, sir.
thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much. So,
Welcome,
ma'am,
sir.
from your speech, it is understood that you're being more a caring mother than a professor, because like we
Yeah.
can feel the essence there, and then we can feel the feeling there. So, thank you so much, ma'am, and thank you for talking elaborately
Yeah.
about the career goals and various career opportunities and study abroad opportunities. And thanks for answering all the questions which have pondered in the young minds and introducing us to various new terms like 5 M's and etc. And your speech about this incubation center and the stock market, everything, it has placed a feather on the hat for the college. So thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you for
Yeah.
participating, and thank you for giving your speech.
Thank you
Thank you
very
so
much for providing this opportunity, and wishing you all the best to all the students out there. You have a great career ahead with SV College of Arts and Science. Thank you, Mr. Vijay. Thank you, Mr. Ganesh, for all the support.
thank you
Goodbye.
so
Have a
much.
nice day. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Students can retain for the session. You have another session. In another 2 minutes, we are going to start. So please, students, please stay back.
Okay. So yes, students. So hopefully, hope.
Yeah, tell me.
Can I start, sir?
Just a minute, no program. Sir,
Can I start, sir?
yeah, you can proceed, sir. You can proceed.
Okay, okay. So students, hope you have enjoyed and hope you have got a good knowledge about the field of accounting and management. And now there is another speaker who is waiting and he has joined, the line, and we are proud to have him amidst us. And I would like to call, I would like to call Dr. L. Vijay, the principal of this institution, to welcome the guest. Sir, please.
One more time, good afternoon, participants. I profoundly welcome our chief guest, Sri Vignesh, who is amongst us, who has accepted. Sir, it is clear?
Yes, sir.
You
Now
able
it
to
is
hear
clear,
me?
sir. Now it is clear. Now it is clear.
Okay. Yeah, okay. Thank you. I profoundly welcome our chief guest, Mr. Vignesh, a software developer who has got a very rich experience in the field of IT, who has gained his uh, master's in the field of information technology, computer science. A very right person to talk on the career prospects in the field of computer science. And that too, most of the students might have started thinking after this pandemic situation, how this IT career is going to be, whether we have to choose IT or not. And there is a bit confusion that most of the students normally have, whether I should go in for an engineering course or a bachelor degree offered in an arts and science college in the field of computer science. Today even, uh, it was a very surprising information that Ministry of Human Resource Development has initiated a degree called BSc in data analysis through IITs in an online mode. We have to think of uh, how the future on these courses are going to be. In this situation, we are having a very informative and guest who can give us the entire insight on the process of to know what we have to know in the field of information technology and computer science. With this note, I take the opportunity to welcome you, sir, to this learning forum. What today we are initiating that after their plus two examination, the students are so ideal. On their request, we have started this knowledge sharing session to make their time so beneficial. Thank you for supporting us to make the students to understand how they have to choose their career. On behalf of SA College of Arts and Science, I welcome you, sir, for this webinar talk. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. It's time to again get introduced with an well-known person, an eminent scholar in the field of computer science and computer application. Mr. Vignesh, he's a software engineer, and he worked in several prestigious institutions like Altair and Bosch, and he was formally educated in India, and his UG degree was from Anna University, and his PG degree was from Birla Institute of Technology and Science, fondly called as BITS Pilani, which was a dream for many aspiring engineers to enter. And he has a way, I mean, a sound knowledge and a good field of expertise in C++, data structures, algorithms, Python, Linux, XML, and core Java. And now he is here amidst us to clarify or give a clear-cut view about the field of computer science and computer application to the students who are aspiring for BCA and BSc Computer Science. Sir, the stage is yours, please.
Thank you, Vijay. And hello, am I audible?
Yes, sir, you're audible,
Great.
sir.
So thank you for the brief introduction, and I'm glad like I was invited for this talk. So firstly, so I see the students have connected from different regions. So firstly, during this pandemic, so I want to extend my wishes for making it today, because the circumstances is not good overall. So firstly, for the people who have made it today, kudos to all of you. So it's been a honor. It's been an honor to be a part of a session like this. So yeah. So first thing is like just to start off, maybe I'll just briefly introduce about me and my industry experience, the expertise what I bring on the table. So I've been in the industry for close to a decade right now. So I worked with various industries as spoken earlier by the previous presenter. So I have a wide range of expertise across different topics, right from embedded system to a full-fledged uh, machine learning models. So this is about me, and currently I pretty much work on a tool called Simulink. I think if you have ever heard of MATLAB and Simulink, so I am pretty much part of the Simulink development, which happens inside the MATLAB world. So that's pretty much what I do day to day right now. So so before we get started on the main core aspects, which I would like to walk you through, I would like to set the context first, and I also encourage people to interact as much as possible. So feel free to post your questions on the chat box, or you can anytime you can unmute yourself and then ask your questions. So feel free to ask. Cool. I think with that said, maybe I'll start off with what I think most of you are just entering into your college phase, right? I think most of you are just finished your schooling part, and now you're stepping into college. Now, the obvious question at this point in time in your career is basically, I mean, most likely people around us would be nudging us and asking one question, which is like, have you decided like what is next you're going to be doing? So that's more like a cliche question which happens time and again on a day-to-day basis, especially for those people who are about to enter into college. So I think it's not a bad question to be asked, but the problem is it's a tough question to be answered. The reason why I say is so far in our career, we've been told what to be done till till this age, and suddenly like we've been asked to make a decision. So it becomes little tricky that now from nowhere we've been asked to make some good decision. And one main problem that we couldn't, most of us struggle to make a good call at this point in time is basically with the way the system is been designed earlier, the education system basically. So most of the time what happens in our education system is like spoon feeding. Like there is a set of things which has to be done, and they ask you to do it, and then you may or may not do it. So it is more like an external stimulant which happens and then you do it. But this is a point in time in your career when you have an option to decide what you want to do. It's a privilege, and it's also a spot of bother, I would say. Like, so if you don't make a right call, chances are there like you might regret later somewhere down the line. So any questions at this point in time? Cool. I was always told that whenever you ask any audience that whether they have any questions, you have to pause for 20 minutes to get a response. So I'll pause for 20 minutes, 20 seconds.
They'll be asking the questions at the end of the session, it seems. So they'll
Great,
wait to the.
great.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, but anytime if they have any questions popping out or popping on their minds,
Yes,
they
sir.
don't
They can
have to
raise
wait.
their
Like they
hand and
can
then they can ask. Yes, sir.
definitely. Yeah, I would really encourage and I really look forward to answer those questions. Yeah, great.
Sure, sir. Sure, sir. Thank you.
Yeah. So speaking about having a good career at this point in time is it's a timely activity, and then it's very important at this point in time. So how do you plan a career is the foremost thing to help us reach a career, because if you don't have a clear clarity of what you want to achieve, then it's more or less it's very unlikely that you get something really great. So the way I look at a particular career is like just a traveling from a point A to point B. So your career is basically nothing but you are at some point in a stage in your life, and then you want to be at some point in stage in your life. So it's just like you're making a journey from point A to point B. And so let's draw an analogy. Like if you want to travel from make a journey from point A to the point B, what are the things one might need? Maybe can we have some answers? Like if you want to travel from point A to point B, like
Students, the speaker is questioning you. Sir is questioning you, and you can answer.
yeah, you can post your answers on the chat box. I think that's more convenient. I'm keeping
Nothing
an eye
wrong in
on that.
answering. Please ask.
Yeah, there's no bad answer or such. It's just that like good. It's the destination. Okay. Cool. So one major problem, what I've seen in most of the students at the very early stage of the career is like they become too goal oriented. By goal oriented, what I mean is like, for example, you want to have, let's say you have a mango tree at your garden, and then you want your tree to bear some fruits. So the fruit is your goal, right? Now in order to achieve the fruit as your goal, what are the things you have to ensure? You don't have to think about fruit in order to reap the fruits, right? What you need to take care is the soil, the manure, the water. So these are the things which you should take care. The fruit is the end thing what you would get eventually when you take care of certain aspect, correct? So like in your career also, like having a good career is actually the end goal. What is more important is actually the way you plan your career, the way you plan your journey to reach that end point is the ultimate thing actually. So what can we do so that we can reach our end goal smoothly without having any hazards or bottlenecks? Of course, a journey is going to have ups and downs at any point, at at, at unforeseen circumstances. But yeah, so what are the things at least we can do from ourselves to ensure that we reach our end goal? Can we have some answers for that? Like, imagine like you have some goals, and what do you reckon like are the things which you should consider definitely in order to reach your end goal? I would like this session to go as interactive as possible, so feel free to pitch in an answer. So it doesn't matter like whether it is good or bad. Just think like nobody is judging you. Persistence, that's a good one.
Ms. Janavi, you had a question.
These are great answers. Yeah, determination to achieve the goal. Great, great. These are great answers actually. So first thing is like let's take the earlier analogy which we were trying to draw. So first thing is like it's a journey from point A to point B. Now, in order to travel, like first thing what you need is a platform. Like the platform as in like you can think of more like a car as a platform. In today's world, learning is just a click away from you, right? You want to learn something, you can pretty much go there and onto the Google and then ask like Google, like how do I get this done? How do I learn this? It's just one click away from you. The learning is omnipresent. It's there in everywhere. So learning on the go, learning wherever you are is currently is possible because of the way internet has been established currently. Correct. So also the second thing which I think is more important is competence. Like first thing is there are many things lying around in this world. The data is there for you. In order for you to go and accumulate those competence, first thing what you have to do is first thing is like you have to feel that this is having some relevance to you, and then you admit yourself to that, and then you keep working on those areas. That's when you acquire a competence. That's when you become an expertise on the particular area, and that is something which the industry looks at you. And the third most thing which I could think of is maybe confidence. So confidence something which is more on clarity in thought and clarity in action. Most of the people get confused with confidence and audacity. Audacity is different from confidence. Confidence is like just having clarity in thought and action in whatever you do. You don't have to be audacious in whatever you do. That is totally different. So I would encourage you all be confident but not audacious on the other hand. So there's a thin line difference between both. Great. So the fourth point is, I think most of you has mentioned here on the chat window, it's perseverance. So in other words, tenacity. Like it doesn't matter like how many times you fall. What matters most is actually how you are able to pick yourself and then keep moving. That's very important actually, because in a journey it's obvious that you're going to be having some pitfalls. You're going to be having some tough times. You might have some uphill tasks to climb. So you should never give back and keep focused on what you want to do, and then keep going. It doesn't matter actually. At the end, what others see and what you see is like whether you have reached your end goal or not. It doesn't matter whether you have fallen multiple times during the journey. It doesn't matter actually. Indeed, actually that adds more value and more experience for you at the later stage, for you to tell somebody like, oh, here are some pitfalls which you might have to consider when you want to make a journey like this. So imagine like just to draw an analogy, maybe imagine like if you're traveling from point A to point B, and then it's close to 1,000 kilometers, and there are chances that your tire might get flattened. So having a backup is a good idea. So that's more like you might learn from your experience. Imagine like you didn't had this idea earlier, and then your tire got flattened somewhere in between, and the place is desertified, and you had to push your bike long way, push your bike or car a long way in order to get it fixed. So this is an experience what you get, and then you can pass on the experience to somebody else, and that becomes a value add in their life to achieve their goal. Great. Any questions at this point in time?
Sir, there is a question we received offline. That is from Mr. Kumaran. Can I ask for him? Like,
Yeah, sure.
yeah, whether to choose BSc or BE. So BSc Computer Science or BE. So that is their main doubt which they have before any
See the
subject.
so the industry doesn't looks like whether you are a BE grad or the BSc computer science grad. What if you were calling yourself as a computer science expert, then which means you should have enough expertise on those area. For example, you should be good at algorithms, you should be good at system design, you should be good at least some handful number of programming language. You should be comfortable in learning of the new technologies which is going to come in the nearby future. So that is what the industry looks at. Industry doesn't looks at just the maybe that could be an entry level question maybe to enter into any industry, but the expertise what you bring on the table matters to them than your degrees and other stuffs. Did that answer that question?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Of course, of course.
Cool.
There is another
I
question.
can
Uh,
yeah, go ahead.
can I? The question is whether there is any specialized courses after doing BCA to be a web designer or a software developer.
Okay, that's a good question because web is currently what is trending right now. We are all connected through internet, correct? So first thing is like web has different levels. It's more complex. So what we see on our machines, our handheld devices or your computer, it's just the front end. There is a server which sits somewhere and then it does something for you so that you get to see something. So there are two aspects of web development. One is front end, and another one is back end. So if you want to become a full stack engineer, then which means you have to expertise on both the areas. So for backend, most of the times they use either Python, C++, Java, which basically handles your query request. You send something and the server says, you send hi and the server says hello or something, and then it does all the manipulations and then gives back you some result. On the client side is all about how you depict the data so that it becomes easy for you to work with those applications. So there are many numerous number of technologies over there. The basic stuffs are HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and then you can have either Node.js or AngularJS as a front end tool. Mastering this would really help you in fetch a pretty decent job in the industry. So just one point which I would like to make here at this junction is like you learn technologies just not to seal a job in the industry, right? It is for you to make a good career. It doesn't matter whether of course it makes you little more employee than others, but that shouldn't be the end goal. You shouldn't stop at that point. You can think of yourself as an entrepreneur even. You might become maybe you might develop some good solutions which the world demands actually. So don't just stop your dreams right at date. You have plenty more to dream at and then do.
Yes, there is another question. Uh,
I could hear someone talking, but it's very feeble for me to really understand the question. Can you be a little louder?
yes, can you please? We have another question in the chat box.
Okay.
There is again the same type of question. That is BCA to choose general BCA or BCA data analysis?
See, that's a very subjective question. Whether BCA or BCA data analysis. If you really like to do, I mean, for data analysis, what is the ground rules are that you should be good at maths because data analysis is more of interpreting the mathematical models and translating them into a real piece of software. So if you're someone who is not comfortable at mathematics, by mathematics, I'm talking about you're dealing with white papers. Do everyone understand what is a white paper? Okay, it's just a journals which is published more like an IEEE transactions. Okay, and these are very complicated mathematical models which gets published even before it translates into some piece of software or somebody owns a copyright. Okay, So these are white paper models, which if you want to work on the industry level data analysis, then you should be really good at mathematics so that you translate those mathematical models into piece of software. Right now, there are tools which help you do that. There are R and Python, even MATLAB allows you to code those mathematical models and translate them into piece of software. So coding is actually very little there. First thing is grasping the mathematical aspects of your data analysis. So that is more the crux. So if you are someone who is comfortable doing that, then definitely go for it. No one stops you.
Okay, sir. Thank you. And next question is from it's an offline question from Ms. Durga. That is, how to train ourselves with latest software developments, like which will not be in the curriculum, which is not in the curriculum, but they need some extra add-on courses or something like that regarding the software development or something like that.
Okay, so there is something called massive open source online learning courses. So MIT has their own open source wherein anybody can opt and then they can learn. Even IITs have a program called NPTEL. Not sure if most of you are familiar with that. Like it's a program indigenously made by IIT guys, and then it gets broadcasted on YouTube, and then there are portals actually where you can go and opt for certain programs, and then you get to learn, and then you also get to uh, get certified. I think there is some nominal fees you have to pay, and then you get graded, and then you get some certifications. So what's most important is like not the certification, you learning the crux, the nitty gritty of it is what is more important.
Okay, sir. Thank you. And there is another question in the chat box. That is, I think the question is very plain in another sense. That is, they have done their computer application and computer studies in their +1 and +2. So,
Hmm.
is that easy for them to do their Java course and Python course?
Okay. um,
The
See,
question is that.
the industry. I'll tell you from the industry perspective how the industry looks at uh, someone like like a fresh man coming into an industry. What does the industry looks at them? First thing is like they don't judge you based on the number of programming language you know. It's all about how good you are in. Tomorrow, if there is a language called, let's say, Z, it's about how good you are in learning that. See, the ground rule for all your Python, Java, your C++, all the object-oriented program is basically object-oriented programming concepts. So once you strengthen those core areas, it doesn't matter you code in Python or Java, it is a mere syntax which you have to learn. So the industry looks at people who understand the object-oriented programming, who can think everything in terms of objects and then code in maybe Python or Java. So if you understand that, I think I think that's what the industry looks at. So you are definitely, just to answer this question, definitely you are eligible to learn Python on Java, provided you understand the object-oriented aspects of software development. So that's the first thing which I would really recommend you go and learn first. What is object? Why do we talk about object? And how these object-oriented concepts are different from the procedural-oriented? So that's the first thing which I would recommend you to understand. Once you understand the nitty gritty of it, it doesn't matter Python and Java or C++ or all other language is just that it's just mere syntax to me. You depict your ideas implementation in some Python at one software. Maybe in another software you depict them using Java. That's a difference. Apart from that, the ground is the same, which is object oriented. Did that
Okay.
answer, Jayashree?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Of course, of course.
Great.
There is another question in the chat box, as well as there is another question which we received offline, which conveys the same meaning. That is, the chat box question is like whether BCA has any scope in future. And the question which
Mhm.
we received here is like people say that after this pandemic period, IT field is going to fall. So whether do we have any scope after doing this?
Okay, so I'll first take this first question whether BCA has a scope in future.
Yes, sir.
So that's again a very subjective question. What you learn out of this BCA program is what is most important. If you slogged all your exams and then maybe got through your BCA, then I think you really have to work little hard in order to get into wherever you want to be. If you have really understand, let's say you pick some area of interest in your during your program, there was some, let's say, algorithm which you mastered. So if you have mastered something, you have some expertise to knock certain door and then you can enter. So just look inwards and see if you have really gained something out of this BCA program. I think if you have some solid thing backing you, I think then you need to go. If not, I would recommend like you have to spend some time and then brush up most of some of the ideas which you feel are relevant for you to enter into certain domain. Because the industry right now is fast moving. Certain skills, it's becoming more and more niche that one industry looks for certain skills and another industry doesn't have any relevance to them. So just see like where you want to be and then make sure like you bridge those gaps for you to reach that. Yeah,
Okay, sir. Sure.
great.
So
So
thank
the
you, sir.
second question, can do you mind repeating the second question?
Yes, no problem. Avinash has asked a question that is many say that after this pandemic situation, this IT field will go down. So whether it's the right choice to choose this BCA course or computer science course.
Okay. um, so I think there is an expression which is very relevant to this 21st century, which is data is the next oil. So it means that the IT industry is not going to definitely go boom in one day. It's not doomsday for the IT industry. Of course, every industry goes through ups and downs, and this pandemic is such one thing wherein most of the industries are having hardships. So IT industries are definitely affected. I wouldn't say it's not affected. It's going to definitely recover over a period of time. So you entering into IT industry doesn't it all it matters is whether you have enough potential to be an IT engineer or not is what you should ask yourself. If you feel like you have the relevant skills, it's just matter of time. Like maybe once this pandemic resolves, things starts to get better. I think it's just matter of time for you to go places.
Sure, sir. Sure. Thank you so much. Thank you for encouraging us. And there is another question from Mrs. Daniel, sir. That is, he's asking whether there are any on-site opportunities will be there after this course.
Okay, so this has two aspects. First thing is like the project has to have some demands for you to get potential clients from there rather than doing it remotely. Firstly, that has to be there. Even after that, there are two things. One is the policies for you to go overseas and work. Currently, if you see, most of the countries are sealing their borders so that people don't enter because of the ongoing pandemic. So this would take at least next 6 to 8 months to revive. Unless that happens, so even if your project demands for you to onboard there, I don't see that happen because the circumstances is not the same like how we were a couple of months back. So
So, okay, sir. Thank you for clearing the fear. And there is another subjective question again from Ms. Sudha. She has asked you to please explain or define that. I mean, what is artificial intelligence and IoT and robotics?
okay,
Yes.
okay, I think these are the common terms which are
Yeah,
popularly
yeah.
used in most of the. I think these are branded in different ways.
Yes,
So
sir. Yes.
artificial intelligence in a nutshell, what it means is you just mimic the way the human think. That's what is we are trying to do. So, for example, let's take a simple application. Like I think most of us would have used at least Siri, Google Assistant, or Alexa at some point in time. We would have tried to ask some questions and then see if how does Alexa responds or Siri responds to those questions. So what it does is basically it first of all it has some algorithm to answer certain questions. Fine. To begin with, it doesn't have knowledge to answer all of the questions what you're going to be asking. What it does is over a period of time, with the way you frame your questions, you ask your questions, you basically train the device. Just like how like when you're newborn, you don't know how to treat, you don't know how to differentiate what is a car, what is a truck, what is a bicycle, what is a moped, what is a bike. Slowly when somebody points at a bike and says this is a bike, you remember that this is how a bike looks like. And tomorrow there's a new brand of bike which you see and then you think like it's a truck because you're newborn, you don't really understand. So and then someone tells like a bike can also look like this, and now you remember that there are two ways the bike can look. Likewise, artificial intelligence is all about you learn just like the way humans learn. You just mimic the human brain in a nutshell, if you want to put. Right?
Oh, okay, sir.
Did that answer your question? Yeah. Moving on
Yes.
to the second one, IoT. IoT stands for basically Internet of Things. What it means is most of the embedded device in the 1980s and mid 1990s, what happened is they're all standalone, which means nobody can interact with them. Now, with the evolution of this internet, what it has evolved is most of the embedded device are now having a capability to be on internet somewhere. For example, I think you must have heard about this smart homes, like you can control your home lights from anywhere you are. So that's a one simple example I can give for an IoT. So imagine your smart bulb is connected to, let's say, internet through your home router, and you are somewhere outside your home, and then you want to know the status of your light at your home. Now what you can do is you can send a message to your home routers asking like if the lights are turned on. So, and it responds back to you. It's just a simple embedded device which is there on internet, so that you can talk remotely.
Okay, sir. The next question, I think the robotics.
Yeah. So robotics again as such, I think you must have seen these humanoid robots coming in. It's a blend of two things actually. One is the basic core robotics aspects, and another one is adding intelligence like humans. So robotics as such is very mechanical. It doesn't have any intelligence. Like for example, let's say you have a heat furnace inside an industry which runs at, let's say, 10,000 Kelvin, wherein which means humans cannot enter into those places to do some monitoring or even service activities. So which means it demands you to maybe have a robot, mechanical robot, which goes and maybe does some activity for you over there. So robotics are basically used for that. I think before 20th century, now you have robots which can talk to you like a human being. It can do all your household chores. So once you have this robotics and IoT plus artificial intelligence put together, that's when it brings the best out of it.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much. And there is another question which we received offline, that is whether to get a good job, a person has to get trained in AI, artificial intelligence, or IoT, or robotics. Any training should be training is required, sir.
Okay. Um, See, again, a good job is very subjective thing. Like, what is a good job for you may not be good for me
Yeah.
or good for someone else. So, in order to just to answer this, um, so what I understand is like they want to enter into this IoT field, right?
Yes, sir.
IoT.
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
So that's again, you have vast majority of industries right now moving on to the IoT technology. So see, when we talk about IoT, what are the aspects which comes into our mind? First thing is like you need to understand um, the way how embedded devices works, and on top of the embedded layer, now you want to bring in some intelligence to the embedded devices. So which means you have to learn some programming language. So you have to master at least algorithms, uh, some OOPS languages preferably, and then yeah, I think
Okay.
that should be good enough. Like I think that's a decent start.
Yes. Sure. Actually, the college, SA College of Arts and Science, is providing, add-on courses and training in this artificial intelligence and certain things for the people who are going to choose BCA and BSc Computer Science. So, thanks for the brief introduction. And sir, there is another question which we received offline. That is whether a UG degree is enough, or a person has to go for a post graduation for a good future, or at the same time, is there any add-on courses for the same BCA or BSc Computer Science?
Okay. So I'll talk about two aspects. Firstly, in India, like most of the jobs which gets created, they look at the skills, what skill sets what you have. Maybe the basic. I don't see many jobs which demands you to have a master's degree. That those are very less as far as I've seen. That's my experience. Those are very less. Those jobs which meant to have meant to be only for this master program graduates. I think these are very limited. So in India, at least, we don't see much difference with regards to your undergrad, whether you are undergrad or postgrad. Of course, it makes a difference when you want to work from overseas, and most of the overseas companies will not recognize your Indian post graduation degree because they still treat you as an undergrad over there. So
Okay.
that's a crux over there. And
Yes, sir. Regarding the add-on courses, like apart from this, the major.
I think most of the curriculum itself, I think, is are getting advanced. So whatever you've been taught in your curriculum, if let's say it all again, it's very subjective thing to answer. For example, if you want to work in an let's say an IoT industry, and what are the skill sets which you must have? It's a let's say if there are 5 skill sets, and your BCA program has taught you only let's say 2 or 3 skill sets, so which means now you have to bridge that gap. So that's all you need to do. Just by learning 1 or 2 programs will not fetch you a job. Have certificates which would I get a job? No, that doesn't happen that way. So I would suggest like you understand the essence of it. You that's when actually that's what sets you apart from the other people, and that's what industry looks at.
Okay, sir. Sure. Okay. So thank you, sir. And there is another question from Mr. Karthik. That is, he's asking whether is there any journals which is exclusively for us, and we can follow that apart from our regular books or college books.
um, Other than I mean your college programs, I think what I would suggest is like every semester you can do some hobby projects on your own area of interest. Let's say if you want to become a web developer, maybe have a develop a web application for your college itself. Let's say um, a better grading system, or write a piece of software and then say like having that actually adds more value to you and where you belong. So those things can be encouraged. Every semester you can have some tiny little projects,
Okay.
kind of hobby projects you can do, and that also you can add them into your portfolio, which when you go out to the industry and then say like you have done this projects during your college time, and if we could vividly explain to them like these are the projects and these are the crux of these projects and these were the modules which I was capable of doing, that sets you apart from rest of the people.
Okay, sir. Sure, we'll do that. Thank you so much, sir.